What's up, everybody? Welcome to the first Q&A video we're doing here on the Josh Fossgreen YouTube channel, where you get to ask questions and I get to answer them. So I'm just going to see how many I get through today and how this goes, and if it goes well, maybe we'll do one of these every couple weeks or something like that. So here we go with questions. First question is from Matt, who's asking what kind of bass I'm using, if this is a PV grind or what. This is a PV Cirrus. Many people have asked me what kind of bass this is, and it does say it right on the headstock, but you know, it's in kind of a weird cursive font. The company is PV and the bass is called a Cirrus, C-I-R-R-U-S, which is a type of cloud. And it's sort of the level up from another model they make, which is called the grind. And I actually played a grind for probably 2 or 3 years before I got the Cirrus, which I've had for a long time, probably 7 or 8 years. I've had this one bass, and I've been using it on most of all the gigs I've done in many different genres, because I just love the heck out of this bass, and I really like to try to get different sounds out of it rather than switch through a whole big arsenal of basses on any given gig. So PV Cirrus is the type of bass that this is, and I highly recommend it. There's a budget model called the Cirrus BXP, I believe, and those seem to be pretty solid. And I like the grinds as well, if you're looking for more of a budget bass. Not that these are very expensive, but the grinds are more in the kind of $200, $300 range, and I really like them. So that's that. John Murphy asked if Tempest has any videos online. Tempest is the band I just joined, for those of you who missed that announcement. And the answer is that there are a number of videos of Tempest playing live on YouTube, but I'm not in any of them because we've only done a handful of gigs together so far. So what I will endeavor to do this year is to get some video at a good gig and put it up on this channel so you guys can see me play with the band. But in the meantime, here's a link. You can check out the Tempest YouTube channel and watch them playing with their other bass player. Next question is from Thomas, who's one of my patrons over at Patreon, asking about when you see a chord chart for a song that's just like the lyrics written out with chord symbols above the words, and how do you turn that, just seeing those chord symbols, into a bass line. It's a little tricky, and it's not always totally reliable, because the problem is that unless you know the song and you know where the lyrics line up with the bar lines, it's not always going to be totally clear when the chord changes are supposed to happen rhythmically. So first thing you need to know is what scales go with what chord symbols, which obviously I can't go through the whole thing in this Q&A video, but I'll try to tackle that in a video in the future. But it's something you can look up online and just look up chord symbols and what scales go with them. Basically, just for starters, if you just see a capital letter like C or G or whatever, just use the corresponding major scale or major triad that goes with that. And if you see a capital letter note name followed by a lowercase m, that's a minor chord, and then you want to use a minor scale. And then it gets more complex from there. But basically, if you're reading a chord chart that's just chords written over lyrics, you really have to use your ear to know when those chord changes are going to happen. It's not, it doesn't actually give you all the information you need on the chart there. You kind of have to read between the lines to a pretty big extent. Okay, question from Joseph Ortiz about bass chords. I think this question kind of came up because in my 2015 news video, I did a little on-the-fly arrangement of Auld Lang Syne, or whatever language those words are in. And I played some kind of open stringy bass chords, and I would love to do a video on open string chords in the future. I do have a few bass chords videos already up, which I'll put links to here, and that covers power chords, triad chords, and triad inversions. But there are a lot of other chord voicings you can do on bass. You can do seventh chords, you can do just all kinds of stuff. I don't feel like you ever really run out of new things you can try. But just real quick, a quick tip in this Q&A video on a cool way to play open string bass chords. Play your open E string, and then play the 11th fret on the next string up, which in this case is the A string. Then you get a nice low root note and a nice high major third on top. Then you can move that up, do A string open, D string 11th fret. Then same thing, D string, 11th fret, G string. Some nice nice little Stanley Clarke-y chords there. And you can do lots of different kinds of open string chords. You can put the 5th on it instead. Instead of the 3rd, you put a minor 3rd. So then open string plus the 10th fret of the next string up. So there's some little open string chord teasers. I'll try to do more on that in the future. Seth Swimmer asked about locking in with the drummer and trying to keep a bass line interesting while still locking in with the drummer's kick drum pattern. I don't know if there's one easy answer on that, but one quick tip I can give you is just to listen to music in the style that you're playing in and listen to how those bass parts line up with those drum parts, and maybe it'll give you some ideas to apply to whatever you're playing. In general, while you do want to line up with the kick pattern, you don't have to only play the rhythms that are present in the drum part, or it will start to get kind of boring. So I don't know if there's a real easy answer on that, but listening to music in the style you're trying to emulate is probably the best thing you can do. Okay, a couple string questions. Greg from Sweden is asking about flatwound versus roundwound. And I would say that roundwounds are best for general bass playing. If you want one type of string that's going to cover you in many different styles, roundwounds are sort of the versatile type of bass string. Flatwounds have more of a specific sound that's really good for some things, like playing like thumpy Motown bass. But if you need a more live bass sound, flatwounds are just kind of too dull in those cases. So I use roundwounds on my Cirrus, and I use roundwounds on pretty much everything except for my P bass, which I kind of use only when I want that sort of flatwoundy sound. But if you don't mind switching strings, then of course you can try both. But roundwounds are sort of the general purpose string. And Greg also asked about coatings, which leads me to the next question from Alex Payne about if I have a favorite type of bass strings. And the answer is yes, I do, and I'm not paid by this company, but Elixir bass strings are my favorite. These are the NanoWeb coated medium gauge extra long scale, because the Cirrus is a 35-inch scale. I've been using these type of strings for years. They're a little bit more expensive than some other strings, but I find that because of the NanoWeb coating, which is like a synthetic coat that covers the metal, it seems like they last a lot longer than other strings I've tried. And this coating does start to fray after a while, but it doesn't really bother me. And it seems like they've been fraying less in recent years. I don't know if they changed the formula on the coating or whatever. But I really like Elixir strings. Again, I use medium gauge round wounds with the extra long scale for the Cirrus. And I'll put a little link where you can find those on Amazon in the description if you want to try those out. Again, you know, string choice is up to you. That's just what I like. I really like the Elixirs because the synthetic coat makes them really slick to slide around on the neck. And I feel like they last a long time, which is great for me because I just don't like to change my strings all that often. So they are a little more expensive. They're probably like $33, $35 a set in general compared to other strings you can get for like $20 and up for a set. But I think they last long enough to justify the price. So that's what I think. Elixir, if you'd like to sponsor me, you can email me at josh@joshfossgreen.com. And I will continue to plug you shamelessly. Okay, I have a feeling I'm not going to get through this whole list of questions based on how much time I've spent answering them so far, so some of them I might have to save for the next Q&A video. We'll see. I'm still filling this out since this is our first one. But let me cover a few more. Logan B asked me about how high I keep my action, and I'll just say really briefly, action means how far away from the neck your strings are, and I keep it as low as I can without getting any fret buzz. And actually, since I joined Tempest, which is a pretty rollicking band, I've been playing a little harder with my right hand, so I've had to raise my action a little bit because when you pluck your strings really hard, you tend to get more fret buzz. So in general, I like a low action. Helps for all the technical slap and tap kind of stuff in my experience. Someone named Multi-Drunken Fist asks where to put their fingers on the neck, whether they should be on the fret wires or between them. What you want to do is aim for the second half of the fret. So say I want to play a C on the A string, I want to aim for towards the end of the fret, almost even touching that fret wire at the end of the fret. Because if you're back here, hear that buzz? You want to aim towards middle or end of the fret. to avoid getting fret buzz. And if you want to know more about that, watch out for Monday's bass lesson, which will be talking about left hand technique in more detail. That's Monday, 3 p.m. Pacific, that'll be out. Jordan Johnson asked if I play upright anymore. I am currently taking a break from playing upright, partially because I was moving around so much before I came back to California that I sold my upright because it was just taking up too much space. So I'm just kind of on hiatus. I'll probably pick it back up at some point and maybe start doing upright bass lessons on this channel someday, but that's more long term. I've had a few questions lately about the music in my videos, the intro music and the outro music. And it's all original. I wrote and played and recorded it all in GarageBand years ago, and I've been using it all this time. And yes, I will teach you how to play the slap bass intro at some point soon. Okay, last question for today, because I don't want this to be too much of a marathon, is from Daniel Cruz on YouTube. Asks if I use any effects pedals, what are my favorites, and do I have any recommendations to start with. I'm not a big effects pedals guy. Over the years, I've used effects on very few gigs, mostly just kind of fun, like jammy funk gigs where I know that we're going to be playing for a long time and I'm going to want, you know, some distortion with an octaver at some point. So basically I just have a big multi-effects board. It's a Boss ME50B. It's pretty old now, at least several years. And I like having a multi-effects board because I'm not super into it. Like, people who are really into it aren't that into the multi-boards because the single pedals tend to, like, you can just customize your sounds more and get higher quality whatever. But I think if you're a beginner and you just want to try out some distortion and try out an octaver and try out a flanger and a wah and whatever, then just get a multi-effects board and try it out. Or even better, if you want to save yourself some money and you're able to plug your bass into your computer, just use software effects in GarageBand or whatever you have, and you can try stuff out that way, and then you can upgrade to more high-end effects in the future if that's what you decide you want to do. But I personally own very few effect pedals, and I don't really use them that often because for just bass playing, you really, the more effects you have on, the more you lose sort of the effect of having a bass in the band. It starts to sound like a guitar, or just like lose that really strong fundamental that you need. So yeah. Okay, that's Q&A video number 1. Hope you guys have benefited from this. Please leave comments and questions for future videos below. Sorry if I didn't get to your question that you already left. Please assume that I have seen it and will get to it when I can. And I'll keep putting these out, again, probably every couple weeks or something like that. I definitely will keep bass lessons coming at you Mondays at 3 p.m. Pacific. And these kind of bonusy videos probably on a Friday or something like that. Next week, bass lesson on Monday, and then I will have another bonus video for you later about, are you too old to start playing bass? When's the cutoff? Should I just give up on myself now because I'm already 31? That kind of thing. I get a lot of questions about that, so I'm going to talk about that in a separate video next Friday after the bass lesson on Monday. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you dug it. If you want to support me in continuing to put out free content like this, please check out my Patreon page or make a donation through joshfossgreen.com with PayPal or Venmo. You guys are awesome. Thank you for all your great comments lately. I look forward to making more videos for you. See you soon.